Good.
All right. See if it's going here. Okay, we are recording. Today is Tuesday. What is today? August 13th. Tonight's topic, I called it Real Talk because I didn't really have a specific topic that I wanted to go over, but I know that oftentimes within this business, sorry, I'm trying to figure out my video here, that the biggest thing that we need to hear is just mindset stuff. And oftentimes it's stuff that we've already heard, but sometimes it's just good to have that reminder. Sometimes just hearing it said a different way from a different person is kind of like the light bulb moment that we need. So I'm hoping that can be the case for you. If you're watching now, watching the recording, whatever the case may be. You guys know that I'm all about tough love, and whenever I preach it to you, I'm preaching to myself. I hope you understand that. And, I preach it at you with such passion because I see potential in you and because I believe in that potential. I wouldn't spend so much time and give so much energy and effort to team call and to things like this when I hype you guys up, whether it's in a training video like this, whether it's checking in with you via text message. I wouldn't give my time like that if I didn't believe in you. And, if you hadn't expressed goals to me that I know are important to you. And so I hope that, if I ever start preaching, ranting, whatever, if you're like, oh God, here goes Lauren again, or if maybe you've had a bad day and you're kind of like, this isn't what I wanted to hear. I just hope that you understand that it truly comes from a place of love for me, and the way that I coach is through this tough love. So just, wanted to preface that because I know a lot of times I can be like, am I too harsh sometimes? But I know that you guys appreciate it. You probably wouldn't be on my team if you didn't think that, if you didn't have that same type of attitude. So a lot of what I'm sharing tonight has come from, recent personal development. Like, that's where I get all of my ideas. If you guys ever think that you could never lead a team call like this, yeah, you can. Go out and educate yourself. Go out and listen to a podcast, take some notes on what resonated with you and write it down and speak from the heart. And yeah, it gets easier the more that you do it, that, the words start to just flow easier. I'm also a weirdo, and when I was in high school and we had like speech class, I thoroughly enjoyed that. I loved it. I don't know. I know a lot of people don't. But getting to like my first point here, I know there's only two other people on here, but that's okay. We're still here as a group. Raise your hand if you have ever felt overwhelmed with anything in coaching. Like maybe when you first got started, when I sent you a training, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we've all felt it, right? What I need you to understand, or always try and remind yourself, and this goes, I think, with any emotion, okay? Feeling overwhelmed, feeling anxious, feeling XYZ. Listen to what I just said, you guys. It's a feeling. It's an emotion, okay? And I know that we can get on a different topic there, like with anxiety and depression, and like, yeah, that's more than just a feeling, okay? But talking about in a general sense here, with feeling overwhelmed or stressed about little things, anxious about day-to-day things, how much you have to get done today, whatever, that is a feeling. And that is something that you have spoken to yourself and allowed to become your reality, okay? I am not someone that is diagnosed with anxiety, but I do experience anxiety. And I make a point to not let myself sit there and say, oh my God, I'm so anxious. Like, I don't even like to get on my Instagram stories really and talk about feeling anxious, because when I speak it, I'm giving it truth. I'm backing that up. When in reality, it's just something that I've put upon myself. I see a big to-do list, and yeah, maybe instinctively I start to like kind of freak out a little bit. My heart races, whatever, I don't know. I can control that by speaking to myself differently. Okay? And I hope that in the, the less serious cases of anxiety, depression, again, I don't want to, I don't know what word I'm trying to think of, not like devalue anxiety and depression, okay? But on a smaller sense, lower level, right? I want you guys to understand that you have control of how you feel about that. So knowing that this business is a learn as you go business is one really good way to decrease that sense of anxiety or overwhelm or whatever you're feeling, okay? I've been in this I've been a coach for 3 or 4 years. I don't even know, okay? That's how long I've been signed up. I don't know everything about the business. I was just listening to a YouTube training today from a coach. He was once a top 10 coach. He's been in this for God knows how long. He still doesn't know everything. Like, there's no way to have the answer, to have it all figured out before you get started. Things are constantly evolving. We're constantly getting new products. Social media is changing and evolving. So you literally just have to get over the idea that you're going to learn it all before you get into it, because there's no way. And on top of that, a lot of the things that we do, you can't figure out how to do it or how to get better at it until you actually do it. It's like riding a bicycle, okay? You get on the first time, you fall over, you skin your knee, and you're like, well, I can't do that. How are you going to get better at riding a bike? By doing it and falling over and getting back up, falling over and getting back up, or by sitting and staring at it? I think you know the answer, right? You have to take action, and it's going to be messy action, and you're going to mess up. But guess what? Months from now, weeks from now, after you made that, embarrassing Instagram post that you're like, oh my God, why did I caption it like that? I sounded salesy. Or, I sent an invite and I didn't word it right, or I sent it to the wrong person. Months from now, years from now, you're not going to remember that, okay? You guys, one time I sent an invite to a boy and it said, hey girl, because he had like a name that could be like a girl or a guy name. And I remember being like absolutely mortified, and I like blocked him really quick so that hopefully he would never see it or something. I don't even know. But like looking back, I don't even remember what the person's name was. Okay. But I wouldn't be confident in my invites now if I had never sent that god awful invite, or B, if I had let that get the best of me and said, oh my God, I messed up, I'm an idiot, I can't do this ever again. Like, I wouldn't be here. And chances are then none of you would be here, because this was like way back when I started becoming a coach, right? So you have to learn as you go, and you have to learn to embrace uncertainty. The personal development book that I'm reading right now is Unfuck Yourself, okay? And in the beginning of the book, I wasn't totally feeling it, but here recently, now that I've gotten more into it, I've had more like come to Jesus moments with it. But you have to embrace uncertainty, because the people that avoid uncertainty, guess what? They stay in the same exact place. Like, our brain and our body is wired to avoid dangerous situations. Like, think back in the caveman days. I'm going to give you an analogy here. Think back to the caveman days when literally our main goal was survival, okay? If there was anything that had any type of threat of danger, our body immediately went into fight or flight, and we either fought it or we ran away. Our body still has those natural instincts, okay? So, yes, sending an invite to somebody, you don't know what's going to happen. And like, as weird as it sounds, that can put your body into a fight or flight mode because it doesn't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's on the other side of that. So you either stay there and deal with it, or you run away. And you know what's going to happen with both options. You stay there and fight it. You learn how to get better about inviting, and you get people to say yes, because if you're not sending invites, if you take that flight option and you run away and you don't send the invites, the answer will always be no. If you do send invites, you'll get some people to say yes. right? Every no that you get is closer to one person that's going to say yes. And you guys, if you only get one yes in your lifetime, you need to celebrate the hell out of that. That is one life that's been positively affected. I know that it's really easy to get caught up in like Success Club and building a team and having these high numbers and beating your number from last time. But if you are helping just one person, that is making an impact. And that is our job. That's our mission. Okay? So embrace the uncertainty and know that there is a positive reward at the end of a lot of the uncertainty. You just don't know it yet because you haven't given yourself the chance to walk through it, to walk through those no's, to walk through the people ghosting you. But if you give yourself the chance to be courageous enough, because a lot of people talk about we need to be fearless. You can't be fearless. Fear is inevitable. You're going to have it in every aspect of life, okay? The successful people aren't fearless. They see their fear and they walk through it. And that's what having courage means. So you've got to learn how to be that type of person. Otherwise, I'm sorry, but you probably won't be here a year from now. Because a year from now, it's still going to be just as hard. Whether you're an emerald or a 5-star coach, guess what? You're still a human. You still face judgment. You still face criticism. You still have days of wondering, what people are saying about you, wondering if this is going to work, doubting yourself. So you've got to decide right now at what stage of your business and what stage of your life you're in. Are you going to be brave enough to work through that, knowing that A, it's going to build you the future that you want, and B, it's going to positively affect other people? Or are you going to be selfish and say, well, I'm worried about what, my aunt that lives 5 states away is going to say about me when she sees me posting. I'm going to live my life for her, so I'm not going to post anymore. That kind of comes into my next point here. We're so worried about being judged, okay? Before you became a coach, were you worried about being judged in other aspects of your life? I know that I was. I know that in high school, I was constantly trying to fit in with my clothes. I was bigger than everybody else, so I was constantly worried about what people said about my body. That went on to college too. So no matter what you do, you're going to be judged. No matter who you are, you're going to fear being judged. But you guys, why are you giving so much power to somebody else? Because here's what I want to ask you, okay? Maybe you've got somebody personal, like really close to you in your life, that you're afraid is going to judge you for what you're doing. You don't want to disappoint them. You don't want them to think you're not, having a real job, or, you're naive for believing in this or something. Maybe it's somebody that's really close to you and their opinion really matters to you. I hate to say this, but, if they, okay, I don't want to word it that way. If they truly love you, they will love you no matter what, okay? And if they're giving you shit for what you're doing, it's probably that they just don't understand that. And they don't have to understand it. When I did my bikini competition, my dad didn't even come to my show. That broke my heart. Like, I'm getting emotional about it right now. My dad's my best friend, but he didn't understand it, so he didn't really support it. But I still fucking did it. And still to this day, when I think about competing again next year, I still want to do it for him. Not to prove him wrong, not to be like, look, this is what I'm doing, like, you need to accept it. Just because I know that he's instilled so much work ethic in me, and that's why I show up for what I do. Okay? So I could have let his opinion of thinking that it's just girls on stage in bikinis starving themselves, I could have let that get me down. But instead I take it, and I know that he cares about me, and I use that to continue to move forward. Okay? In terms of now relating it back to business, again, worried about somebody close in your life. They either just don't understand it, they truly do care about you. And you just have to accept the fact that they don't understand it, On the flip side, you're going to have some people, whether it's a negative ass relative or somebody just like on social media that you don't even know. They aren't going to fucking support you either way. Who gives a fuck? Move on. Like, are you really going to give them your time and energy? I hope not. There's a kind of a little quote. It says, you can be the ripest, juiciest peach on a peach tree or in the orchard. Are peaches in an orchard? I don't know. Okay. But somebody still ain't going to like peaches. So they ain't going to like you. It's not your job to make everybody happy. You can't. You just can't. So stop giving them the power for you to convince yourself that, well, I shouldn't post on social media because somebody might say this, somebody might think this. Do you know your truth about yourself? Do you know why you want to show up? Then own that. Lean into that. And if you don't know what that is yet, then take some time to reflect. Think back to why you started. Think back to the couple messages you've received from so-and-so saying that you inspire them. I don't care if they've signed up with you or not. If you are positively impacting somebody's life, you need to continue to show up for them and for the future of thems. Okay? I promise you, you will get more positive feedback in this community, in this platform, in this business than you do get negative. And it's stupid that as humans, we'll get 100 positive messages, and as soon as we get one negative one, all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, I suck, and we forget about all the positive ones. That's when personal development, journaling, mindset comes into play. That is why it is such a vital part of this business. So that you can have the tools and the knowledge up here to remind yourself when you do get that one shitty message, because seriously, I hardly get them. I hardly do. You will be able to talk yourself back up, remember who you are, and remind yourself that that one fucking person out of 7 billion on this planet are not going to bring you down. Okay? Going into the next point then from there, you talk about showing up for people. I want to ask you guys something. If you were not getting paid for any of this, if Beachbody wasn't a business, it didn't have a compensation plan, I want to ask, would you still be posting? And maybe not saying yeah, I'm running a boot camp, but would you still show up in hopes of inspiring people, in hopes of sharing some advice, some tips, anything? I'm looking at all of you girls right now, I'm pretty confident that you would, because I know that you have the personality that you want to help people. So you need to remind yourself of that, or maybe just ask yourself that first. Would I still be here if I wasn't getting paid for it? Yes, it's great to have financial goals. There's nothing wrong with pursuing financial freedom. Okay? There's nothing selfish about that. Money makes the world go round. I mean, it really, truly does. Okay? So don't have any shame in having money goals, but you need to have the passion behind this too. Okay? And remember that right now, looking at where everybody on this call is at, rank-wise, you're probably not raking in a ton of dough. Where I'm at currently, I'm not raking in a ton of dough. And yes, it can get frustrating. You can feel like you're doing work for nothing. You can feel like the goal of finally raking in the dough is so far off that you question if it's worth it. Okay, but here's the deal. As long as you continue to show up, you will eventually see that payoff. Now, how soon you see that payoff is based off of how hard you work. Okay? But know that as long as you show up every single day, no matter what your pace is, you will eventually get there. And to me, that is more like I focus on that, and that gives me hope, because I know a lot of people would instead be like, it's not going to happen in 1 to 2 years. Nope, I'm out. I'm done. Some people are not willing to work for pennies in order to get where they want to be to earn the big bucks. So what I mean by that is, you might be doing what feels like a lot of work for no pay right now. But sometimes that's what you've got to do to get to where the payoff is greater. Whether that payoff is greater in terms of a check, a rank advancement, growing a bigger team. Okay? So honestly, that's what kept me a coach for the longest time when I first started out. Just knowing that I might not be seeing big paychecks right now. My team might not be growing that fast. But giving up, quitting, calling it quits, I know where that'll get me. It'll get me nowhere, right? As long as I continue to show up, it might not be fast, but I will eventually get there. Every single day that you show up, you're throwing a pebble into your pile. Every single challenger that you sign up, you're throwing a pebble into your pile. Every single coach that you sign up, another pebble into that pile. And eventually that pile grows and grows and grows and grows. So try and visualize that if you're ever struggling, especially if you struggle with comparison. Well, Lauren over here got Success Club 22 last month, and I only got Success Club 2. Okay, yeah, I might be growing faster, but still, you can still grow. It might be slower. That's why this is your own business. You are in control. Your income potential. I had a check of $600 last week. You might be comparing, thinking, wow, I haven't had anything in the past 2 weeks. Guess what? Take ownership for that. See that as a blessing, and know that if you want to get a check that big, or maybe even half of that or a third of that, it's in your control to go out and get that. And I think that's a really cool thing, to know that our income is based off of our hard work. So if you want more, you go work harder. Yeah? Last thing that I want to touch on before we end here, and if you guys have, I kind of meant to ask this in the beginning. I guess if you have any questions on things that you want me to touch on, put it in the chat. And if you're feeling vulnerable tonight, I would like you to write down anything that maybe you've been struggling with, you've struggled with in the past. And just, I'll either try and address it, or maybe somebody else can address it. I just want to give you guys a chance to open up if there's anything that you need help with. So yeah. But last thing is, and it kind of ties into the showing up every single day. This is something that I know a lot of, a lot of coaches can struggle with. And I've been there. But in terms of building trust in your following, because that is the most important thing, you guys, the people that are following you are looking to trust you. Okay? You can't be inconsistent on social media. That doesn't mean that you, with your workouts and your nutrition and all of that, have to be perfect. Perfection does not exist. We know that. But you showing up on social media needs to be, there's a bug in my face, a regular thing. And I'm going to tell you why. If there's kind of two reasons. If, say you're working out, you're doing great, and then all of a sudden you fall off the face of the planet, people are going to notice. And you might not think that, but the people that are following you, they are invested in you, and they look up to you. And like, as weird as it sounds for me to say this sometimes, I'm sure you guys would probably all agree, but it's like, our Instagram stories are reality TV shows, honestly. And if you've got somebody that's checking in with you every single day, the minute that you aren't showing up, I mean, first off, they might be like, okay, is she okay? Like, where's she at? What's going on? But then if you aren't showing up for a few days, you guys, the human attention span is so short, they're kind of going to forget about you. And then you come and you show up again, and they're like, oh, there she is with those workouts again. what was she doing for the past, week and a half? They might not necessarily like think bad about you, but it's, they need somebody that they can count on. Like, they're watching you for that inspiration and that hope. And I'm sorry, you guys, but if they see you take that much time just not showing up on social media, they might think, well, if she didn't show up on here, is she going to show up for me? And again, that doesn't mean that you've got to have the rainbow unicorn life going on constantly, that you've got to be slaying your workouts constantly and following your meal plan to a T. Like, I go through weeks where my nutrition is never on point for an entire week, but I still show up and I talk about it. And I'll have times when I'm on vacation and I'm drinking more beer than I am water, but I still show up and I talk about it. And that is how I build trust in people. Because I can promise you, I get more messages about, I want to sign up with you because you're real, because you drink beer, because you're honest, because you're not perfect, because you show me you don't have to be perfect to live this lifestyle. Okay? That is why people trust me, because I show up through the hard times. And I know that there are going to be times in your life where you're going to have shit going on. God forbid you lose a family member. You're going through, I think of other coaches that I see them sharing their journeys when they're going through divorces, when they've lost siblings, when they are going through chemo, they are still showing up. I pray that you guys never have to go through that shit. But when they share that stuff, not only is it, helping them show up for themselves, because we know that when stuff like that happens to us, the worst thing we can do is isolate ourselves. I've been there. But putting yourself out there about those struggles, and it's not like you have to put all your dirty laundry out there, okay? But putting that stuff out there is going to give somebody else hope. Because you guys, if you are going through something, you're not special, meaning you're not alone. There's somebody else out there that is going through it too. Whether it's me and my binge eating, all those other like shitty life things that I mentioned, you lost a job, your car broke down, whatever. Sharing those things is going to build more credibility in your business than anything will. And not only that, but I think it will help you show up for yourself better than you've ever done before. I know that it can be scary to share that stuff. I know that if, it's something that's really weighing on your heart and your mind, like you don't know how to talk about it on social media, or you just feel like you can't talk about it. But that really is the best thing you can do, is to lean in to sharing your story. Because that is what more people in this world need to see, is honest, normal people sharing their truths so that they know that they are not alone and that they have hope. Okay? So I just wanted to share that. That's pretty much all I had for my topics tonight. I feel like I didn't get too tough lovey on you. I mean, I did. It was like being blunt, but anyway, that was just a lot of stuff that I've heard in trainings lately and read in my personal development. And I'll just be straight up with you guys. Like, I'm struggling lately with the thought of finances and